Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show to talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of the Endgame. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we start off by getting confirmation that the picture that Val found last episode has got all those people, including the 4 people that Elena'S already taken down, along with 2 other people whose faces are visible and the 1 person whose face isn't. Once again, I'd assume that's on purpose. But one of them ends up being a judge, which, it seems like, oh, why is that person there? It's like, there's probably a pertinent reason for that. But essentially, it's about trying to figure out, who's the next person, who's the next target. Because, once again, everything Elena has done, at the very least, this mission started off as a vendetta. You killed Sergei's family, the only other family that Elena had. It seemed like when her dad died, her dad was the only family she had left. So when he died, Sergei's family is the only family she had. Especially his mom became a mom to her. And to lose her was heartbreaking. And now, once again, whether or not there's a correlation between Elena'S dad getting killed and her almost getting killed, and now Sergei's family, whether there's some correlation there or not, who knows? Because at first it seems like it's just one gang versus another, Sergei's family versus the Bellocs. That's what it seems like, but maybe things run deeper. This was I brought it up previously, could it be a blood feud thing? We'll have to wait and see. To go to that extreme, it seemed like it is, but the Bellocs seem like they are tied into the U.S. government in some shape or form because all these people who are up to some shady stuff, Elena'S main thing is to expose all of them, but this also ties into the Bellocs because I guess the Bellocs have a lot of governmental help and the way they're able to just get away with so much of the terrible stuff they do because they have powerful friends in high places, so maybe it's a situation of she needs to dismantle the system that protects them first and foremost so that you can drag them into the light, whereas before they've kind of been in the shadows. Because even Val was yeah, we've looked into it, we cannot find anything. We know they're a criminal organization. Other than that, we know nothing about the Bellocs, so I think maybe that kind of fuels into it. But regardless, the opening had Sergei and Elena torturing the guy who actually placed the bomb, and it's so heartbreaking because he's a dude that did it because he was getting paid a lot of money to pay for his wife's treatment because she was really sick, and did it the moment Elena was oh, did she get better? I was the moment she said, I was she didn't make it, did she? And it's no, she didn't. It's everything he did was for nothing. He killed everyone in that church. As Elena puts it, it's 100+ people, men, women, and children were killed in that bomb. He's responsible for killing all those people. And for what? I get it. They came to you to help you when you were at your most desperate. You killed a whole bunch of people, and for nothing because your wife didn't even survive because it was already too late. So it's it's a heartbreaking thing, which Elena had promised, right, I won't kill you. But the moment she's yeah, see, I'm going to keep my promise. I'm yeah, but you didn't promise Sergei wouldn't kill him. And lo and behold, Sergei proceeds to kill him. So, obviously, figuring out then Elena'S next move and trying to understand everything. And she's reaching out to Val. Obviously, there's a whole conversation about, right, if you could find the man who killed your mother, would you kill him? Would you kill him because that's justice? Because she's right, I killed the man that actually set the bomb. So, and Val's kind of I don't live in what ifs, I live in the present. But she's oh, don't BS me. You get succumbed to the past just as much as anyone else does too. You try to pretend you don't kind of drown yourself in it as well. But because for her, it's right, the guy who killed Isaac Bisbee, he's dead. Been dead for years. There's nothing I can do about it. There's no point, lamenting and just, losing sleep over it. But you could tell, she says that, but no, it still bothers her. No, the guy's dead, which we'll get to that later on. Guy's dead. I'll never get justice from my mom. Of course that's never going to sit right with you. You're never going to be okay with that. It's not right and it's not fair. Especially because it's almost the bastard got off easy. He ran, disappeared, and died, and he got off easy. He doesn't get to actually pay for what he did. So once again, Elena's trying to equate so much to her and Val, because it's like, right, we are so similar. No matter how much you want to deny it, there's so many similarities between us. But it's just because Val like looks at and I'm sure Elena would say that too. It's like, right, you look at things as so black and white, you're ignoring the major, large shades of gray that exist in between. You know, you see yourself as good and me as evil, but there is a blurred line that exists in between that you refuse to recognize. That in the Venn diagram that is you and me, there's overlap, you know? But in this episode, they end up reaching out to the potential next victim. His name is Adele. He's the guy that basically 4 years ago, he modified the system for the Federal Reserve. So it's like, oh, he must be Elena'S next target. So when Valerie gets there to talk to him, lo and behold, some Snow White people show up. Luckily, outgunned, Val still puts it down and lays all of them out, kills 2 of the 3, and so it all kind of works out. But the moment the director confronts Elena, she's like, wait, what? I'd never put Val in danger. It's like, well, I mean, you put Val in dangerous situations, but you never actively put her in a situation where, because she always believes like Val's going to rise to the occasion and everything's going to work out. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's the whole bomb vest situation. Like, there was a lot of shrapnel that would have killed everyone, but it's like, I'm sure you would, I was sure you're going to find your way around that. But it's like, I would not actively send you in some place that I would put you in a disadvantage. I know you would always rise to the occasion. So when she heard that Val was attacked, she was like, what? No, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, that's not Snow White people. Those are just people pretending to be Snow White people. Like, I could tell immediately with that reaction, her denial of like, yeah, that's not us. And I'm like, why then? And then I was like, oh, is Adele like tricking you? I was like, is this some like ploy? Because he's also being like, oh yeah, I'm the only one that could get towards the Federal Reserve and stuff like that. He has to get close to it and everything. I was like, there's something fishy about this dude. The twist turns out being that he actually works for Elena. I was like, interesting. Because at first I was like, does he work for the Bellocs? Or is he just so... Because I was like, I wouldn't assume like some dude that has some connection to Elena would be able to accomplish this, like set this whole thing up, if he was just some dude. Like, that's why I was like, I felt like he had to have some kind of like backing from like the Bellocs or anything. But it's like, no, he works for Elena. The Bellocs sent those fake Snow White people to kill him because they know of his connection to Elena, which is so fascinating. The fact is that, but I guess she's already made her public declaration, so they probably looked into it and were like, all right, like for them to know that he was connected to her, even though everyone else in the FBI was like a step behind, like Val was a step behind, everyone else was, not knowing like they were working together. So how did the Bellocs know that? Like I guess it just plays into the fact is that they've got connections all around the government. So like they just probably got some information and immediately passed. I don't know. Maybe that just means they have a lot more insight into Elena's organization. Because I guess like, it makes you wonder how long have they known that Elena and Sergei survived? Because they probably made sure to check amongst the remains, and amongst the bodies from the church, they didn't find Elena or Sergei. So they've probably known for years that they're alive, or I don't know. She's made her public declaration now, but she's also made a name for herself as an international like arms dealer and like criminal. So they probably heard her name up until now. So I also forgot, like, right, they have tried to come after her. So it's not like it's like, oh, they're going to like I'm forgetting. There have been hits like when Owen met up with her and Sergei. It's like, right, that was a Belloc hit that came after them. So it's like, yeah, they've known for a while. So they've just attempted. They just haven't been able to get to her. But she's been orchestrating her counterstrike against them for the past couple years, and a lot of obviously we look and see and learn about the groundwork she set up. Getting like Adele, because he was drinking himself a lot. Because at first he was like, nah, I was just the dude that operated the camera. I didn't know what was going on, which is true, but he ends up being a lot more involved than he let on. It turns out he's the one that was set up, like he was told to pay the guy who basically blew up the church. He thought like, oh, we're helping like, helping allies or something, like that's what he thought the money was going towards. He didn't know he was basically, inadvertently hiring a hitman, essentially. Which is even sadder because it's like, right, you were manipulated into paying a guy that money was going to be used to help his wife, and that guy who isn't like a killer but was set up to do this, just like, it's an unfortunate situation. But that's the thing too, like Elena and Sergey, it's like, right, Elena's like, if I hadn't found out I was pregnant at the time, I would have killed you. Like, I was, it's like, forgiveness is like, no, it's not in her wheelhouse right now. It's like, I get it, your circumstances put you into this, you didn't know what was what, you're still responsible. You still paid the guy who killed Sergey's family, so we still would have come for you. But because they're having a baby, she decided, it's like, no, I'm not just going to go about revenge, because killing people is not going to resolve anything. It's not going to bring anyone back. And, we can kill as many people as we want to, but until we cut the head off the serpent, like, this problem's going to continue to grow. So that's when they decided, we're coming at this from a different perspective. We are going to make this world a better place, rooting out all the evil, pulling it up from its roots so it can't grow back. Like dealing with a hydra, cut off one head and another grows back. It's that same principle. So their plan in the end was to melt the gold, which was interesting. It's like, cool, bring in a device that's going to blow up, heat the room up to like 2,000 degrees and melt all the gold. Because the point is, the moment all the Federal Reserve gold like melts and gets destroyed, like the American dollar is going to tank. It's going to cause like a worldwide recession. It's going to be like catastrophic on an economical level. So to cause that much damage, you're like, but to be fair, it's Elena and she's trying to make a point, because I'm guessing the Bellocs benefit from that. So a strike, which seems like, oh, it's a strike against the U.S., but it's like, it's a double-pronged attack of like, right, I might be hurting the U.S. in the process, but I'm also hurting the Bellocs. That's the whole point. And obviously, Val ends up, talking to Adele later on and asking why he did this. It's like, yeah, like just like your husband. And she's like, this isn't about him. It's like, yeah, but Owen and our circumstances may be a little different, but there might be an element of willingness, because this is about taking down some, like, without going into details, it is about, I think it is at the core of it, taking down some very, very bad people. That there's this group that's infiltrated so much that the general public, even people in Val's case, don't know. I think Owen's eyes have been open to it now, and so he wants to do good. He's like, right, like all the manipulation, all the stuff that was set forth, what the Bellocs are potentially using government people and resources to do, doing stuff like basically getting people from a certain administration to essentially hire a guy to blow up a church, so it's like, who knows what other atrocities have been set in motion that made Owen go like, right, we need to stop them. That in the end, it's like, right, we might have to go about it the wrong way, but in the ends justify the means, because we're doing a little wrong for the greater good. So some sacrifices have to be made, but it's for the greater good. It's making this world a better place because we're getting closer and closer to, I guess, finding down the Bellocs, destroying their empire, and erasing them from existence. I think that's kind of the ultimate end goal. So I even love that Adele was like, yeah, like, but, even if I go to prison, Elena's going to protect me. I'm like, will she? I don't know. Well, because if he ends up anywhere, he's most likely might end up, they will probably make sure he doesn't go there, but I'm like, part of me is like, do you think he'd end up in the same prison that Owen and Sergey are at? They probably avoid that, because like, yeah, Owen's already there, and we already know Owen's connected to this, so they'd probably be reluctant to put the two of them in the same prison, because they don't know about the X factor that is Sergey, which is obviously an element to this that drives Valerie wild, because she can't figure it out, because the director ended up sending Anthony to like confront Owen about it, because it's like, right, I don't want to put Val in that situation to do this, because they trace back the codes that Elena was getting at Fort Totem. Like, they trace it back to the cell phones of the banks. So it's like, okay, the people in the bank were giving her updates about everything, but then also they got a ping at the prison that Owen's at. So it's like, okay, now their thought process is Owen's the one behind all of this. So Anthony goes there because he's ordered by the director to do it, and he confronts Owen. And he's just kind of like, right, regardless of what your circumstances may be, whether you believe you're doing the right thing, Val, like, who's had your back thick and thin, who's kind of taken a hit reputation-wise because of her being so adamant in defending you, and you no matter what you're mixed up in, the people you're mixed up with could have gotten Val killed, but he was like, no, that's not what was supposed to go down. And hearing the whole thing, he's like, right. He figured it was like, right, the Bellocks disguising themselves as Snow White, but for him it's still the thing of, my wife was never supposed to be caught up in the crosshairs. But Sergei's like, no, like, at the end of the day, like, your wife, you know, they were never going to, like, outdo your wife. He's like, that's not the point. She was never supposed to get caught up in this. And it's like, right, they're just, you know, in the grand scheme of things, Elena's going to do everything she can to protect Val. And it's like, all right, so... But Owen's like, let me make it clear, like, if something happens to Val, I will kill both of you. Remember that. So I guess that was kind of the agreement he made beforehand. He's like, don't get it twisted. Or either he's just be like, I want you to remember this from now on, or is that something he'd already threatened him with before? We'll see. But that's also the piece to the puzzle that Val is missing, because the director let her know, like, hey, there was a message saying, like, right, Val's in trouble because the Ballocks try to come after her. And then, like, Val was like, wait, Anthony, when you went to talk to Owen, was he upset to hear about all this? It's like, yeah. And she's like, but that message sounds so straightforward. She was noticing the inconsistency, because if it was Owen, if he was really upset, he would have fired off like blah, 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 blah in the message, but he didn't. It was so straightforward and so calm and reserved, because it wasn't Owen who sent the message. It was Sergei. But that's what she's kind of like, oh, that seems weird. That seems inconsistent. But she's like, maybe I'm just trying to, like, because in her mind, it's like, man, I'm just trying to justify it to fit the narrative I need it to be. Like, I'm trying to make sense of it all. So maybe I'm just trying to reach for something there. But it's like, no, pull on that thread. The fact is that something's not fitting. Like, she keeps feeling like there's something to this piece. I mean, there's many pieces she's missing, but there's one that she feels like if she can figure it out, it might. And Sergei is that X factor, that piece that if you get him, figure out that he's still in play, that he's still alive, it makes a lot more sense potential. I think it's going to be the linchpin to kind of unraveling a lot of this, especially because Val thinks she's a step ahead, because it's like, right, we got the messages, but the moment you find out Sergei's alive, then you're really going to be like a step ahead, at least a step further into figuring it out. But because Sergei has no, like, real connection to Elena. Not Elena, God, to Val. She's kind of a means to an end. Val takes in, Elena take a interest in Val. I'm so sorry. I'm jumbling my words. Elena has an interest in Val because she feels like they're a little bit of kindred spirits. So I think there's an element of that. So I don't, like I said, I don't think it Sergei's encompassed in that. I don't think he feels the same way about her, but he only cares about Val because Elena cares so much about her, that she's a means to an end, that I think she herself is kind of a linchpin, and she doesn't realize how important she is to all of this, because Elena reached out to her specifically because she needs her, because you're so good at your job, because of who you are at your core. You are a good person, and I need that moral compass to be the one that ends up being this flaming sword that doesn't kill but exposes the evil and the corruption that is all around. That finally opening her eyes, because if you can get someone like her, someone so good, someone all about justice on your side, then it validates what you're doing, but also, like, you need a strong ally who like that on your side. There's also the element to this episode where Doak is not too happy about the circumstances, because he's been relegated to, like, right, I'm doing this and that. It's like, oh, Val's the one handling stuff, and just, you can tell, it's like, oh, Anthony's off doing a mission that he can't tell me in about because he's been, or, like, Doak is super pissed, grabbing a cup of coffee and just throwing it across the room, like, he's upset. Obviously, his quote-unquote demotion last episode, as he looks at as a demotion, did not sit well with him. But he's up like, yeah, oh, I'll do this. Oh, if you see fit to it, you know, if you, because you're the one that's in charge here. And he was like, Val was like, no, you're in charge. It's like, for her, it just probably feels a little babyish to her, because it's like, right, you've given me so much guff, you've given me so much crap, and now it's like, right, like, I'm not in this to show you up, I'm just trying to get to the truth. But he's the one that's getting so caught up in, like, yeah, how it benefits him, because, I mean, Val's in a doghouse already, reputation-wise, so for her, like, she's not getting caught up in that. He's the one that's trying so hard, maybe because as we learned last episode, he made a mistake, and he's tried to be the best and perfect so that he can make up for it in some shape or form. It's like, right, if my reputation gets tarnished, it all makes it all for naught. So maybe that's why he cares so much. But it makes him seem so, oh god, because it's like him and Val's like, he's like, right, we do this perfectly, you do the interrogation and stuff like that, I'll go into like the Federal Reserve with Fidel, like if this all works out perfectly, I'll get some accommodations, you can get reinstated, so it's a win-win. And it's like, fine, like, let's work together. And him and it did work out, and like, hey, they worked together, they disarmed the bomb, and it's like, hey, we saved the day, and we're going to get like accommodations and stuff like that. But you know, with everything that went on, Val wanted nothing to do with it. But your boy Doak took advantage of it. He was like, yeah, I did what needed to be done. Like, he made it seem like it was all him because Valerie wasn't there to take some of that glory away. Now, if she was, it would have been a different story. But once again, he's so scummy because he's such an opportunist. You get what's driving him, and you kind of feel bad that he feels the need to be like that, but it's still just scummy of just like, oh, you're such an opportunist, like being like, yeah, this was all me, yeah. I just had to go get it done. And it's like, okay. So trying to make yourself seem more favorable, because if it wasn't for Val, you'd be always a step behind, and now you're going to basically ride her coattails to success, while, you know, after all the times you put her down, and now, like, after all of that, like, the roles are reversing. She's looking more good. She's looking better, reputation and stuff wise, while your reputation's kind of going down the toilet. But he's trying to reverse that, and we'll see how that plays out. Once again, I don't think Valerie's going to care too much. As long as it doesn't get in the way of her finding the truth, it's fine, whatever. I mean, granted, I'm sure it's still going to rub her the wrong way, knowing he's just like, oh, that's all you care about. You're not even in this for doing the right thing. You're not here for the right reasons. You're just here for selfish reasons, you know. But we'll see. But the other reveal in this episode is that Isaac Bixby, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, is still alive, which I figured as much. The moment they introduced that concept element, I'm like, that bastard's alive. He faked his death. Now, the question is there some larger role to all of this, in the sense of, does he have some connection to the Bollocks? Is it a thing of, because when he faked his death, because if you have the right connections as a criminal and stuff like that, you go to the right people, they can help you disappear. So the question is, did he just happen to go to the right people and they helped him disappear? So it was kind of on his own, but using his own resources, or did the Bollocks help him out too? Because it seems like the whole thing with Val is like a smaller scale thing. Like, that just seems like that's personal. It doesn't seem like it has a part to play in the grand scheme of things. It's just part of like Elena's, like, right, our connection, our need to get revenge for the people that we cared about being taken from us by someone and wanting justice. So that might be the only correlation, that it is a more personal story, but it plays a role in a larger plot because of that. Because Elena wants to know what Val's going to do. It's like, right, I give you the address of the man who killed your mother, still alive. Now, what will you do? Like, it's time for you to tell me a story, and I'm so excited to see how it ends, you know? And the question is, what will Val do? Will she find the guy and kill him? Because I think Elena probably, like, if Elena finds out, wait, you didn't kill him? It's like, I knew you were something special. Because I think Elena probably wants her not to kill him, but it'll be a win-win, because it's like, oh, you know, it's like, right, you kill him, we're so much alike. You don't kill him, I knew you were the right person for it. Like, I think she probably needs Val not to kill him, but it's like, right, I want to see what you do, because at the end of the day, I'm presenting you the opportunity. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can't say I manipulated you, I gave you the information. It's up to you to decide how you're going to handle it. Will you straight up arrest him and bring him to justice, or will you kill him? And I think what that choice Val, I can say I could easily see Elena balancing either way, being proud, like, oh, you killed him, I get it, but maybe she'll actually be disappointed because, like, right, I expected so much more from you, Val Turner, you being the good person you are. But I think Val's not going to kill him and bring him to justice, and that's going to make Elena happy because it's like, right, I always knew you had to. And she wants her goodness to outshine all that because it's like, right, I knew you were special, I knew you were the person, I knew you're the right person to play this. I think she's she has a role to play on the board, and it's like, I need you to be good. I don't need you to be to cross those type of lines, because I need you to stay your good self, because that's the ultimate weapon I need to help me, like, once again, destroy the Valaks and reveal their evil and them being behind everything. At least that's how I view it. We'll ultimately have to wait and see where the next episode takes us with all of this. I'm very excited to see what happens next. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.